Good afternoon. It's Simon Hacking from Harewood Travel. We're here today to talk about the Seychelles. This afternoon, I've got Karen Confait with me from the Seychelles Tourist Office. The reason we're having this talk today is because she talked at our summer conference recently, and for me, just gave an inspirational talk about the Seychelles, and certainly inspired me with her passion and knowledge about the place, and made me think very differently about it. And that's why we're here, because we want to talk about that and really put it across, because the Seychelles have so much to offer. So, Karen, where do we start? Should we talk about the islands?
Yes, thank you so much, Simon. Happy to be here this afternoon. So Seychelles, we are 115 islands, an archipelago, so many little islands. As you all may know, just north of Madagascar on the east coast of Africa. So we are quite close to Africa. We have 5 groups of islands. We've got 2 types, so a lot of people don't realize that. We've got these beautiful granitic islands. So they are mountainous. You've got that beautiful granite of the Seychelles, which is quite unique in the world, covered by mountains, forest, and nature. And we also have flat little coral atolls. So they're very different, a little bit more sandy atolls. And out of the 115, we've got 3 main islands. And that is the 3 main islands where people live. So where you have most of your hotels, and that would be Mahé, Praslin, and Digue. So these are the 3 main ones that most people will visit. But of course, you've got so many other smaller ones as well.
Okay, and in terms of the islands, I think the perception is from a lot of people that they would book a hotel and they would fly in and they would stay in one place and that's it. But I think there's some really excellent stuff to be enjoyed between the islands, because they're quite different. Island hopping's a thing, isn't it?
Yes, indeed, Simon. So anytime anybody goes to the Seychelles, this is what we always recommend. Island hopping. My opinion is the only way to do the Seychelles. So the most practical one will be doing those 3 main islands, Mahé, Praslin, and Digue. So a perfect itinerary for your clients would be maybe a 4 or 5 nights on Mahé, another 4 or 3 nights on Praslin, and then maybe 2 or 3 nights on La Digue or a day trip. But definitely try to include the 2 or 3 islands. One of the reasons you need to do it, because the islands are so very, very different. Again, it's a shame if you're flying all the way there and you're spending 10, 12 nights on just one island. You miss out, really. Each one has its own unique character, its own atmosphere, different things to see and do. And the best thing is that they're quite close together. So you're not traveling long distances. Very easy to get between. You've got a great network of ferries and boats to go between. So just an example, from Mahé to Praslin, it's 1 hour by the big fast ferry boat. So maximum travel time, 1 hour. Or you have the small domestic flights as well. And that's only 15 minutes. So the smallest, shortest flight you will ever do. So that's Mahé, Praslin. And then from Praslin to La Digue, it's 15 minutes by ferry. So it is so close, so easy, and very easy to book your inter-island transfers in between. So again, it's so different, definitely worth doing 2 or 3 islands in one trip. And as I mentioned earlier, we also have our coral atolls. So again, adding maybe one of the smaller coral atolls to make a larger itinerary, that's really worth it, because a coral and a granitic is so different. You get a different experience. So maybe 2 granitic islands and then maybe add a small flat coral atolls. That also is a great way to put the itinerary together.
Which of the smaller coral islands would you suggest?
Yeah, so there's different ones. For example, Dennis and Bird, they are 30 minutes from Mahé. So they're the closest to Mahé. So 30 minutes, you could do like a 4 or 5 nights on Dennis or Bird Island. And as you know from the name, Bird Island is the island of birds, your eco-travelers, your nature lovers. But going a little bit further out, you've got Plat Island, that's 20 minutes. You've got De Roche, that's 45 minutes. And then sort of really out there in the out islands, you've got Alphons, and that's 1 hour. So again, if you have a longer trip or you really want to experience the out of this world of the Seychelles, then the outer islands is great to add on to that an itinerary as well.
Fantastic. So between the main islands there, just to talk about the kind of experiences you'd have on, if you like, the Granite Islands and on, say, a coral island.
Yeah.
What would make you do the island hopping? What are the differences between the
Yes,
different islands?
definitely. So, for example, the main island of Mahé, it's the largest. So you would land here. It's the only international airport. It's also home to our little capital, Victoria. It's actually one of the smallest capitals in the world. You can literally walk around in 20 minutes. Very cute. We've got little Big Ben in the center, tropical markets, beautiful little kiosks, local cafes for your shopping. So definitely adding Victoria in the itinerary. But then on Mahé, we've got a beautiful forest and nature reserve. So you got some of the best hiking in the Seychelles. The highest point is 900 meters. And in the Morne Seychelles National Park, you got some excellent hiking trails. So definitely for your, again, nature lovers, adventurers, I would recommend Mahe for your hiking. And then further down south on the island, we've got a Takamaka distillery where you can taste our local rum, amazing rum. They do a fantastic tour. We've got a beautiful botanical garden where you can see the tortoises and the Coco de Mer and all our endemic flora and fauna. We've got beautiful tea factory. We've got a beautiful viewpoint called the Mission Lodge. For something a bit more cultural, we've got the craft village where you can go and see the locals doing their arts and crafting the little sailing boats, souvenirs. They even do cooking classes and demonstrations. You can learn the Creole culture. You can cook a really lovely Creole curry. So the craft village is nice to add as well. And then you've got beautiful viewpoints. And of course, you can't forget the beaches. Mahe, being the largest island, still has some of the most beautiful beaches in Seychelles. For example, Beauvalon would be an area for someone who likes a bit more to be more active. You've got a beautiful promenade, restaurants, bars, shops. So everything is walking distance on the north on Beauvalon. And in the south, it's a little bit more quiet, a little bit more dispersed. So you've got isolated beaches everywhere. So the island being the main one is not that huge. From north to south is only
Right.
28 kilometers, but there
Oh,
is a
right.
lot. Yeah, it's quite small, but there is a lot to do on Mahe. But then when you move to Praslin is different, a bit more wild, a bit more quiet. And the one thing there that you won't get on Mahe is our UNESCO World Heritage Site, the Valley de Mai. So again, you cannot go to the Seychelles and not visit the valley. Beautiful tropical rainforest, home to our famous nut. I'm sure you've seen it, Simon, the big Coco de Mer nut. So that's endemic to the
Uh-huh.
Seychelles. World's largest nut, weighing about 30 kilos. Only place on earth it grows is in the Valley de Mai in Seychelles. So a walk with a local guide, it's just incredible. It's like this ancient, legendary rainforest. So definitely you can't miss it. Home to our national bird as well. So if you are into birding, we've got our black parrot that also lives in the Valley de Mai. Stunning beaches on the island, beautiful hiking as well. And what makes Praslin interesting as well is you've got smaller islands that you can do as a day trip. And one of my favorites is Curieuse Island, and it is the island of the giant tortoises. So it's a 10 minutes boat ride from Praslin. You do it as a day trip because there's no accommodation. So let's say you're staying on Praslin for 4 nights. Curieuse, you do it by day. It's a beautiful island. It's got giant tortoises just roaming about. This is their home. You can do a tour. You can do a hike. Beautiful picnics on the beach. And along the way, you can do some great snorkeling at Saint-Pierre, which is a tiny little rock island close to Praslin. So as a day trip, Saint-Pierre and Curieuse, it's perfect to do from Praslin as well.
Fantastic.
And then plus Praslin, what is also great is you've got smaller islands, which is great for birding. So if you have clients really into birding, we've got Crusoe and Arid. Both are nature reserves. They're bird sanctuaries. So from Praslin, again, you can do these 2 islands as a day trip and go and discover all our endemic species of birds. We actually have 12 endemic species in Seychelles, and we have quite a few of other incredible species like the paradise flycatcher. So quite a few to discover. And then lastly, Le Digue, again, completely different. You cannot compare it with Mahe and Praslin. It's more your laid back traditional island. island life, island time. I always say they're in their own time zone there because everything is slow pace of life, very relaxed island style. And the only mode of transportation on the island is bicycles. So when you get on the Digue, you rent a bike and you're off and you go explore. Even locals, there's about 4,000, 5,000 people living there, and they don't have personal cars either because the whole ethos of the island is that biking adventure. So when you get there, you rent a bike, you got great hiking. And it does have some of the most iconic beaches in the Seychelles. And one of them that I cannot not mention is En Sus d'Argent. So it's that postcard beach that you've seen probably everywhere. It's said to be the most photographed beach in the world. It's the one with those ancient boulders, massive,
Yeah,
massive
yeah,
boulders.
yeah,
So
yeah.
that is on La Digue. So again, if you go to the Seychelles, you miss La Digue, you've missed some of these really, really charming out of this world beaches. So biking, snorkeling, all the three islands I've mentioned, you can do these. So snorkeling, diving, fishing, hiking, and then plus all these other interesting things. On Mahe also, you can do horse riding, you can do zip line. On all three islands, you can do canoeing and kayaking, not only in the reef, but we've got protected wetlands. So again, you could kind of canoe into the wetlands, discover the different birds. So I think for adventurers and for active clients, Seychelles is really ideal. And a lot of people don't realize that because they think it's just a beach destination. So hopefully now you have a better idea of all these amazing things you can do.
I mean, again, I think that's absolutely amazing what you say there, because I'm completely inspired all over again. And I'm thinking 2 weeks is obviously not nearly enough
Yes,
for all
it's
those
not enough.
things that you talked about. All of them. There isn't one of them I don't want to do and stuff. So that's amazing. So just a little bit of description about we talked about obviously the granite islands there. What about the coral?
So the
What's the
coral
character?
atolls, yes. So the character and the fact that it's surrounded by a coral reef, it is absolutely stunning. But they would have some of the best snorkeling. Islands like Dennis and Alphonse is surrounded by sea turtles. They're like, sea turtle
Right,
stations all around. So some of the
right.
best snorkeling on these islands and the crystal clear waters that you will see nowhere else. Again, for the fishing, again, Alphonse and Dennis and Bird, especially Dennis and Bird, because there's the northernest island, you've got the big drop off. So you've got some of the best deep blue fishing out there. And again, the diving as well. And on land, it will be again all sort of your natural nature activities, bird watching, uh, you know, exploring the islands. So it would be your sea adventure and also your island exploration. And the fact that there's no people there, there's no infrastructure, there's just the little place where you're staying at the resort or the little cottages. It's just so untouched. So it is a very different experience than a main island where the people are living.
Yeah, I know that talking about Alphonse, which is something I've been doing a bit of work on. If you go there, I think people who go diving in different places around the world are used to maybe seeing other dive boats or seeing several people. There is only one operator. So
This
you
is it.
don't see other people. It's like that, isn't it?
No, it is. All these islands I've mentioned, you've got that one operator. There's nobody else inside, hardly any human footprint. So the diving is some of the best in the world. You mentioned Alphonse, for example, some of the best diving. If you go a little further out, you've got Astor, for example. And they tell me all about it. You've got what they call the wall there, and you can actually dive off this amazing wall. And it's one of the best locations for diving. And then Cosmo and all those outer islands, and Bird and Dennis as well. So for divers, for fishermen, for snorkelers, these islands are just incredible because again, no mass tourism, the exclusivity that you get out there, the privacy, the untouched underwater world. And just looking at the size of the Seychelles, we still, when we look at how big the territory is, 30% of the marine territory in Seychelles is protected. So the underwater world is just so unique. Yeah.
I think it's worth just talking a little bit about. You talked about Bird Island there, and we were talking about Alphonse and
Yeah.
the islands in the
Yeah.
outer atolls where you have birds that are completely tame. And I know, I'm sorry, is it Cosmo, the island where you've got several eco lodges,
Yes,
and
that's it. And that's
basically you stay in the lodge and there's nothing else on the island.
there's
It is like a Robinson Crusoe experience, isn't it? Which is
very
kind of
much
mind
indeed.
blowing, really.
It is. So, for example, like Cosmo, they've got the little ecopods, and there's nothing else on the island. And they do these incredible activities from diving, from bird watching. You've got quite a lot of species of birds out there, seabirds, land birds as well. But again, what you see out there would be sometimes period of the year, you will see whales, you will see whale sharks, you will see all species of sharks, you would see dolphins, you would see manta rays. You remember if I spoke about it, that I saw a manta ray, bigger than two dining room tables. So the underwater world out there and seeing these amazing creatures, it is out of this world. The whale sharks and the mantas are just incredible. Yeah.
But just to go back for a second away from the outer line islands to talk about like Bird Island, for instance, when you go from La Digue or something like that, one of the Granite Islands, and you go to like Bird Island, it's not a super luxury experience. It's an adventure experience, but it's fairly simple shacks. I mean, great food, all sort of locally and sustainably caught and stuff, but it's quite an adventure experience, I think, isn't it?
Yes, indeed. For example, Bird Island is 30 minutes from Mahe, so you take a flight. They've got little cottages on the island, little wooden cottages, and the island is very much that adventure, that eco traveler who wants to get away from everything. And the island is surrounded. I've been there once by thousands and thousands of birds all around you. So it is really incredible. The snorkel is incredible. And what is nice is the island has a very special guest, and that is one of the oldest giant tortoise in the world. His name is Esmeralda.
Really?
So he's lived on Bird Island his whole life, and he's 180 years old, Simon. So you
Wow.
will not, you can
Wow.
imagine it. So he is
Yeah.
a gigantic giant tortoise. He lives on Bird. He is one of the oldest in the world. So that's a special thing to see on Bird Island, plus the birding, but like we said, it is little eco wooden chalets, very sort of your basic. And what is nice there, no TVs. There's actually no cell receptions on these islands. So your mobile phone doesn't work. You'll get a bit of Wi-Fi. So they call it the digital detox, same as Dennis. You are
Yeah.
completely cut away from the outside world. You get a bit of Wi-Fi, no TV, no room keys. Just, at night, there's no lights because you can't distract the birds. So it is that sort of adventure eco lodge and just among the nature. So it is incredible.
That sounds
Yeah.
amazing. So just to talk about values just for a moment, because again, I know my perception before I heard your very famous summer celebration conversation was very expensive, very exclusive hotels, way out of my price range. And I think it's important to talk about there are different levels of things in the Seychelles, aren't there? So
Yes, definitely.
yeah, you have big resorts like the Four Seasons have a place on. I'm sorry, I don't remember which island it's on.
So both on Mahe and De Roche, one of the outer islands. So you've got some of the nicest international chains, from
Yes.
your season,
Yes.
Four Seasons, Six Senses, Cheval Blanc. But that's not what Seychelles is just all about. On the
Yes.
islands, you have a very big variety of accommodation. So that's what I always say, don't sort of think of it like out of the price range or only for movie stars. On the three main islands, you've got everything. So you've got the higher end, larger resorts, but not a lot of large resorts, to be honest. And then you will have a bit more sort of your mid-range boutique hotels, a bit more locally owned. You will also have a lot of smaller local properties run by local families. So it'll be your guest houses, your self-catering. If somebody wants to go with a family one day and wants to rent an apartment or a house or a villa. And on all three islands, you have these options. And then on your island resorts, you will mostly have some of your higher end as well. But again, don't be scared of the price point because we have everything for all budgets, all price points, and all types as well. So that's what's interesting to keep in mind.
Yeah, I
You
think
would
it's
have your
important, that, isn't it?
it is, it
Yeah.
is. And of course, when you look at your mid-range one, very good value for money, beautiful locations, very high standard of hotels in the Seychelles because they highly managed, they highly, I would say the licenses that they have and everything, it's done very well. And also very good sort of, I would say, authenticity. You're really getting that Seychelles feeling and authenticity in terms of the
Yeah.
hotels as well. Yeah.
Brilliant. Like I say, I think that in that sense, it gives a much more diverse experience than a lot of people know about. And I think that's the interesting. You can go for a fly and flop holiday if you want, or you can go and, which would be a shame because there is so much there to see and so much sort of to explore, isn't there? So in terms of getting there, what's the sort of, because it's was it about a 10 hours flight? I mean, what's
Yes,
the
so we are just south of the equator. So you're basically traveling south. So we've got quite a few airlines that flies to the Seychelles. So out of the UK and some of the main airports, all the way from Scotland, all the way to down here in London, you would have your main Middle East carriers. You will have Emirates, you will have Qatar and Etihad. But outside of the Middle East, you also have Turkish Airlines. You also have Ethiopian Airlines via Addis, and you also have Kenya Airways. So these would be your main carriers. And then out of Frankfurt, you would have Condor, for example, Edelweiss. Right now, our national airline Air Seychelles has flights out of Paris, but that's just for now. But again, throughout the year, you've got all these amazing connections via these hubs and down to the Seychelles. Some people do it as a twin center. If you're doing, let's say, a safari beach, so Kenya
yeah,
Airways works
yeah,
well. You could do
yeah,
safari Tanzania, Kenya, or go down to South Africa and then Seychelles or a Middle East, or, going even to Sri Lanka and then, from Sri Lanka down to Seychelles with Air Seychelles. So because of our location in the Indian Ocean, you've got some really great connections via Middle East, Africa, and this
yeah.
region as well.
I think that's good because it gives you the flexibility, as you say, to have a two-center
Yeah.
holiday,
Yes.
and and
Yes.
and
For
also
sure.
bearing in mind what's happened this year when we've obviously had
Yes.
the sort of war with Iran. It's meant that
Yes.
people need to be more flexible because basically
Yes.
the Middle Eastern airlines shut down for a while, didn't they? So
Yes,
I
they
think
did.
that's quite an important thing to emphasize. So in terms of time to visit, because you're so close to the equator, I guess it's similar all year round or not?
Yes, exactly. So Seychelles, we've got the same climate all year round, more or less. We're south of the equator, so the temperature is the same all year, same time for sunrise and sunset. So we don't get the sun at 9 o'clock, 6:30 to 6:30. Temperature is the same all year, so minimum 26, 27, maximum 32. So it's perfect all year round. Day, night, it doesn't change. And then throughout the year, you can travel from January to December, hardly any changes. Some months I always sort of advise that it's probably better than others, better conditions. So some of these would be March, April, May, so our spring, and then September, October, November, our autumn. I would consider this probably the best of the best throughout the year. So that's where you have less wind, less rain, calmer seas, better conditions for snorkeling and diving. So this is probably the best of the best. And then right now, our June, July, August, our summer, which again, most people are doing Europe and they're not thinking of Seychelles. It's perfect. You've got a bit more breeze. It's still 29, 30 degrees. It can be a little bit more choppy seas during that time, but all the activities on land is ideal. And then we do get a bit of rain throughout the year as we are a subtropical
Yeah,
destination. But I would say more frequent rain will be late December and early January. So it's always sort of good to know there might be more frequent showers. But again, it's a tropical shower for an hour or two and then the sun
yeah,
comes out. So it's
yeah,
not
yeah.
that, typhoon or anything like that. And one other important thing is because of our location, we are outside the cyclone belt. So we don't get affected by any cyclones
That
that
is
hit the
important.
Indian Ocean. So that's also very good to note. So it makes it so it allows us to have that pleasant climate all year round. So perfect.
Fantastic. Okay, I mean, for me, what an inspirational talk again. I mean, I just love hearing you talk, and I could sit here afternoon. Obviously, if I don't have to get off this and go to the phone and book some tickets to go to the
Yeah.
Seychelles. But I think it's a very interesting. It's been, for me, it's a very interesting bit because it really explores what the country can offer, and it's not just a straightforward sort of beach destination.
Yeah.
There's a lot of variety there, and I think there's a lot of adventure there and exclusivity. And if you want to
Yes.
have a real sort of eco experience, you can have that kind of thing with the places on the beach. If you want to have
Yes.
the really big hotel experience, again, that's available there. So I think it offers, as much as almost anywhere in the world in terms of, hot destination. I'd like to thank you for your time again. I don't. Is there anything else you'd like to add? I mean, I think we've covered most
No,
of the things, haven't we?
I think we've sort of covered everything. The fact that it's so much more than a beach. Few points I think I like to mention again. It's the fact that Seychelles still has that exclusivity, pristine, uncommercialized, one of the most uncommercialized destination remaining because the islands are not just overrun by resorts. You still have so many beautiful protected nature areas. Actually, when you look at the landmass, 50% of the landmass in Seychelles is protected nature reserve. So we are very, very proud of that. So the exclusivity, the privacy, all beaches are public, but you will always find your own little private beach. They're practically deserted. If you see 2 or 3 people on the beach, you're lucky that day. So the exclusivity, the beautiful beaches, and then, like you said, being adventurous, not a flying flop, but also I think it's a destination for everyone. A lot of people think of Seychelles only as a couple's destination, but in my opinion, and I think everybody who's been there, it's so family friendly. Everything I've mentioned today, you can do as a family. You can put together a family itinerary. The island is safe. The nature is safe to travel there. You don't have vaccines. You don't have visas. So very easy to put that itinerary together for your clients. The kids will love it. They will love the giant tortoises, the birds, the fact that the beaches are empty. The ocean is swimmable. It's clear. It's absolutely stunning. So it's a perfect family destination as well. Solo travelers, multi-gen, but of course, the honeymoon, romance, and wedding. That is, the typical what people know as the Seychelles. So again, the diversity, the types of clients. So it ticks the boxes for practically everyone. Who doesn't just want that beach, but wants that culture, authentic experience, authentic Creole cuisine, gastronomy. It's fantastic. They will enjoy it all over the island. And those who want that relaxation on the beach for 12 days in a beautiful resort. So ticks all these boxes. And I would do say it's a destination for
Yeah.
everyone. Yeah.
Yeah. Because I say, I mean, I found the speech you made before inspiration. It's the same again. I'm completely passionate about it all over again. There's so much to do there. There's so much to see. And if the people are half like you, then, I mean, what a wonderful people they must be.
Thank
So
you.
it just remains to say thank you very much indeed, Karen, for your time. And thanks very much for joining us this afternoon on this conversation about the Seychelles. Thank you.
Yes. Thank you.